Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live 10 at 10.
The local police can't do anything. I think that's probably the scariest thing.
A warning tonight for parents about the dark web and how easy it is to get drugs sent to your house through the mail anonymously.
We have uncovered new details surrounding a drug overdose in West Fargo that killed a 19-year-old and sent another teenager to the hospital.
In April, police found 2 men unconscious at this apartment building after being exposed to a large amount of fentanyl. One was taken to the hospital. The other, Alex Hearn, was found dead. New court documents obtained by Valley News Live show the drugs were delivered by mail and bought through the dark web.
Valley News Team's crime and safety reporter Nicole Johnson shows us how drug dealing has shifted to the internet and the dangers surrounding it.
It took me about 4 minutes to get to this point. 4 minutes.
23-year-old Stephen Huston set up a test account on this dark web marketplace to show me what's for sale.
This stuff is so cheap that it's just everywhere.
He doesn't buy drugs himself, but says anyone with internet access can.
So they're selling 10 grams of fentanyl for $30 per gram, and that is a lot of fentanyl to be going through the mail.
Drug dealing has been online for years, maybe even decades. We just weren't as aware of it.
Fargo Police Lieutenant Shannon Rosicka tells me they started noticing the dark web after they saw more and more people, young people, overdosing and dying.
A lot of these drugs, heroin, fentanyl, carfentanil, those type of drugs, have been ordered over the dark web to our community. And the people who live in our community who've ordered them.
The buyer's not really concerned about giving the address to them. This person is never going to come to their house or anything. They're not going to call the police on you. And the seller doesn't have to put his address on it.
It's not attached to you in any way other than your online identity, which doesn't have to at all be close to your real identity. You can make an online identity that's entirely different from who you are.
Anonymous online shipping services make it even harder for law enforcement to catch people. The package is delivered, and typically the mail carrier has no idea what's inside.
It can't be a law enforcement issue anymore. That's what I think. I think it's got to be a public health issue.
In Fargo, Nicole Johnson, Valley News Live.
For concerned parents, Lieutenant Rosicka recommends checking their children's online history. He also says keep in mind the dark web is accessed through a separate browser that you should watch out for.
A bicyclist was taken to the hospital after crashing into a moving vehicle tonight. It happened about 8:15 at the corner of C Street and 2.5 Avenue East in West Fargo. There are no stop or yield signs at the corner in that area. A police officer did tell us the bicyclist's injuries did not appear to be serious.
We've been investigating the circumstances behind the closing of Romo's restaurants in Fargo and the disappearance of the owner, Rodolfo Romo, after his family reported him missing June 2nd. Today, a viewer sent us this photo of what looks to be an eviction notice on the door of the Romos located on 19th Avenue North. The notice shows that the business has until Friday to vacate the location before legal action is taken.
A federal judge has ruled that the Army Corps of Engineers did not adequately consider the impacts of a spill from the Dakota Access pipeline into the Missouri River. A D.C. District Court judge said the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe's claim that the Corps' failure to comply with the National Environmental Policy Act is true to some degree and ordered the Corps to reconsider those sections of its environmental analysis. He did not, however, order Dakota Access to stop pumping oil. He said that question will be subject of further briefing. A shooting this morning at a congressional baseball field in suburban Washington, D.C. has left 4 people with gunshot wounds, including a leading Republican congressman.
Reporter Mola Lenghi has more from the Capitol, where the violence has brought both sides of the aisle together.
Rapid gunfire pierced the air at a congressional Republican baseball practice in Alexandria, Virginia. When it stopped, 4 people had been hit, including House Majority Whip Steve Scalise of Louisiana, who was shot in the hip playing second base.
He dragged himself after he was shot from near second base about 10 or 15 yards into the field.
Congressman Roger Williams twisted his ankle ducking for cover. He credits Capitol Police assigned to Scalise's security detail for containing the damage.
There could have easily been 25 deaths or more today.
President Trump visited Congressman Scalise and one of the officers in the hospital. The gunman, 66-year-old James Hodgkinson of Illinois, was shot and died of his injuries. Authorities are investigating his motives, but Hodgkinson posted anti-GOP sentiments on his social media. Investigators believe he may have been in Alexandria since March.
We believe that the shooter has been living out of his vehicle in the vicinity of East Monroe.
Democrats practicing at a nearby field stopped and prayed when they heard what happened. The shooting brought lawmakers, so often bitterly divided, together.
We're united, not as Republicans and Democrats, but as United States representatives.
The bipartisan charity baseball game has been played on and off for 100 years.
I think this brings out an enjoyment which you can't necessarily get as if you're sitting in the congressional chamber.
Each team is tied at 39 wins apiece, making Thursday's game a tiebreaker with meaning far beyond the field.
One congressman says he believes he encountered the gunman in the parking lot before the shooting. The gunman had asked the congressman who was practicing, Republicans or Democrats.
Some South Fargo residents are anxious for a part of their life to return to normal. For more than a month, those living along 15th Street and 23rd Avenue haven't been able to use the street in front of their homes. At times, it's looked like a war zone as crews replaced water main piping and put in a new road and sidewalk. Homeowners can't park in their driveways, and that's led to some adjustments.
We went and bought a little wagon we could pull from here over to the car or the truck to haul supplies in, haul supplies out, whatever you may buy or bring home or go shopping.
Well, it's been over a month since we've been able to get into our house and garages, and so it'll be nice to be done.
It'll take a couple of more weeks before the job is done. The cost of this project is split between the city and homeowner assessments. And before the season is over, several streets in that area are scheduled for asphalt replacement, which is far less extensive than what happened on that particular street.
Toll roads could be expanding statewide in Minnesota. For the rest of this year, the state will be studying expanding Min Pass in the cities and creating more toll highways throughout Minnesota. A report is to be submitted early of next year and will include ways to reduce congestion, look at what other states have done, and how much potential there is to garner revenue. But people we talked with today said toll highways are just not needed.
It impacts everybody's world, if you ask me, for the simple fact of the matter is we are already paying taxes on these roads, and you're raping me in taxes. I mean, they're raping anybody else in taxes. It's not fair to the average taxpayer to be charged to drive down a road you're already getting taxes taken out on.
The Minnesota Trucking Association opposes toll roads too, saying there have already been studies that found they will not work here.
It's a nice night out there, much better than the trouble that rolled through large parts of eastern North Dakota and western Minnesota yesterday.
Valley News Team's Molly Casey got a first-hand look at one farm that was hit hard yesterday.
Strong thunderstorms and winds are pretty common in Otter Tail County during the spring and the summer, but Tuesday's storm caused damage that some residents say they've never seen before.
We always have thunderstorms. It's not like the end of the world.
Francesca Bakken didn't think much of her home being under a thunderstorm warning on Tuesday night, but that changed when the power went out.
The pole, it snapped in half like it was a toothpick.
Winds from the storm had blown part of her barn onto power lines and part of it into the field behind, and had scattered debris around the farm.
I don't think it was any wind. I think there was definitely some small scale of a tornado just because of the damage.
And she has plenty of reasons to think that. One of her cows was lifted into the rafters of the now destroyed barn during the storm and found hanging by her husband.
So he felt kind of bad, so he got it down. And
Bakken's property wasn't the only one left with damage. Trees in surrounding areas were uprooted and others were broken apart. And even though there is a lot to fix, Bakken says cleanup shouldn't take long, but doesn't know if the barn will be rebuilt.
You know, we're waiting on the insurance adjuster to come out and say, yep, this is under insurance and this is what we value it, and hope to maybe rebuild it and start anew again, you know.
So while the farm is put back together and life gets back to normal, Bakken can't help but think those thunderstorm warnings weren't quite right.
That can't have been just a thunderstorm, as they said. There had to been something else that was causing it.
In Otter Tail County, Molly Casey, Valley News Live.
Bakken says an insurance adjuster will be stopping by to help assess how much that damage will end up costing the family.